Do you believe in life after love? I can hear something beside me say, really don't think we're strong enough. Oh, do you believe in pat on the back? Welcome back to Pat on the Back. I am your host, Pat O'Connor, and I'm going to preemptively apologize for those who watch on video for any squinting I may be doing. I have elected to not wear my glasses today because I just didn't feel like it. Um, and there's no really explanation outside of it. I can see pretty much just fine. I just can't read a lot of detail, so I'm going to squint at the timer or the game while it's on and all that shit. So I'm gonna apologize for any squinting that may be recorded or judged. You guys know me. You know I wear the glasses, okay? So don't fucking be a bunch of fucking dingleberries about the fucking glasses, okay? We're all good on the glasses front. I just the thought I just had while I was watching the game, because it's just MLB beginning, but I was just like, dude, why am I not gambling right now? Cannot believe that I'm not gambling right now. And now I know this is going to come out late from like it's going to come out very, very post, 5 days after everything's concluded, 6 days, I guess. I don't know. But for the New York Knicks to have won the, I almost said the Stanley Cup. For the New York Knicks to have won the NBA championship for the first time in 53 years is fucking sick. I think it's good that they won. I think they deserved. They were obviously the better team. I heard some crazy stats. So in in 3 of the losses, the Spurs at one point or another had about a 92 plus percentage at various points in the game. I think at like 1 minute left in the fourth quarter, one of the games they had like a 92% chance of winning with like a minute left. There was another one where it was like 7 minutes left in the third. They had like a 98% chance of winning, like crazy numbers like that. So for the Spurs to blow 4 of those games, because in all 4 of the wins that the Knicks have, I believe, if memory serves, in all 4 of those wins, they were not. They were all like down double digits, I think, at one point in each of those games. So for them to have lost 4 of them, I think. I'm a fucking idiot. That's the mouse. What a stupid bitch. For them to have lost all 4 of those games after being up double digit, I secretly think, for one, a lot of credit to the Knicks. I think it's one of the only teams that has like that kind of grit to them to pull that off in those spots every time and just really have that never say die type of attitude. I think it's good for the Spurs to have lost. Now, again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I know this is going to be old news by the time that this episode comes out. That's so if I'm recording on Tuesday, and it's old news now on Tuesday. You know what I mean? So, I mean, not for the Knicks, but or the Spurs, but you know what I mean. Like, it's going to be old news on come Friday morning. But I think it's good for the Spurs, because I think if they had won now, I think that would have caused a lot of disappointment for Wemby going forward, for just how difficult it is to win an NBA championship, and for him to have done it in his first year of making the playoffs. I think then you look at like, well, we've got a real fucking problem on our hands, is what the rest of the NBA would do, but everyone would immediately start finding like, how can we shut this guy down? Because he doesn't have a game developed yet. So the amount of pressure that would land on him, it would be like LeBron James-esque pressure, but I think even more so because he would have won sooner than LeBron had won at 22. I don't know that LeBron didn't have a championship at 22. I don't remember how old he was when he won his first one, if I'm being honest. I think it was closer to his mid to late 20s. But for Wemby to have won it in like his first playoff run at 22 years old, the amount of pressure that would put on him, and with someone with his frame, like he's got to bulk up. It's not good for his stat. There's so many benefits, I think, underrated benefits, I think, for Wemby to have lost this championship. And if anything, I think it just shows how banged up the OKC Thunder were, because it's like you don't stand a chance now. You know what like with the amount of injuries that they had, I don't think the Spurs would have won that series if they were healthy, and I think this series kind of proved that. So we did kind of miss out on the Orange and Blue Bowl, which would have been cool to have with the Thunder versus the Knicks. But I think the Knicks winning, I think it's great. I think if there is a real, like a loser in all of this, I don't think it's any. I don't think it's the Knicks. It's not the Celtics, the Phillies, the Sixers. It's not OKC, and I think there are benefits for San Antonio, like I just said. But for I heard this and I agree. If you're gonna point at a loser in this situation, it's the Brooklyn Nets. Like how there's no one in New York who's going to walk around and be like, "Oh no, I'm a Nets fan," because you're just gonna go like, "Well, I'm just gonna be a Knicks fan." Like I live in New York. No one's gonna be like, "Oh, you switched up." It's like, well, no, they're the New York team. They're the only team in basketball called the New York anything. So how are you going to hold that against them? It's all of New York. And the Brooklyn Nets, who tried to build like two super teams and failed both times in the past, was that 10 years, we'll say, just to give it a safe little cushion for my own retrospective. So they had 10 years, built two super teams, and never even got remotely close to achieving what the Knicks just achieved for the first time in 53 years. So if I'm a Knicks fan, I'm ecstatic. If I'm a Nets fan, I'm not anymore. I'm just a Knicks fan. If I go to a Nets game, it would simply be because the tickets are cheaper. And I heard this on somewhere that I cannot remember. I can't give credit to it. Maybe, pardon my take, maybe I don't remember. And they said, so credit to them, this is where I heard it. They said that they think the Nets should relocate. And that should either be the new Vegas team or it should be the Seattle Sonics. And I think you have to, because there's no way that you can make money now as as the Nets. You can't make any money because no one gives a fuck about the Brooklyn Nets at this point. You have to at least go back to Jersey or something, because at least in New Jersey, it's like, well, we're the New Jersey team. But then you tried to move to Brooklyn. You're like, give us a borough, and they gave you Brooklyn, and you're just like, and you've sucked the whole time. Like, it's just not working. You have to do something else, because there's no way that you can recover from being second fiddle to the New York Knicks, who were a massively popular team before all this happened. Because New York City is fucking, there's a fucking 12 billion people living stacked on top of each other. They split 12 to a cupboard in that city. All of them are New York Knicks fans because it's a basketball town. Like, I know they have the Giants and the Jets, but they're not in New York. Those are in Jersey. And then Buffalo is in northern New York. You know what I mean? It's not in New York City. New York City is a basketball town, and now the New York Knicks are the defending champs. The Nets are fucked. The Brooklyn Nets have to relocate. Jersey, Vegas, or Seattle. You got to take one of those three, and you got to take the L. But you just don't stand a chance in the market anymore. I think you're totally, completely screwed. And fucking sucks to suck, I guess. You know what I mean? But like, that's what the fuck you supposed to do. Imagine being like Imagine if they made like the Worcester Red Sox second fiddle. They made them a pro team, and so now you've got the Boston Red Sox and the Worcester fruit punches, because they're not going to be obviously the Worcester Red Sox. So you got the Red Sox and the fruit punches, and then the Red Sox win a World Series. You'd be like, why the fuck are we even doing this? Like, this is the dumbest thing that we've ever even considered. That's so fucking stupid. You would never do that because you would never make any money. So I think if you're the Brooklyn Nets, you have to relocate. And obviously everyone wants everybody back, and they want a team back in Seattle. So that's a no-brainer. And then Vegas, because every sports franchise wants a team in Vegas because it makes so much goddamn money. Or Jersey, because at least it's like, well, it's fucking right there. At least we get the Jersey people back. Like, because I bet you a lot of the Jersey people are like, yo, fuck this. I'm going to be a Knicks fan now. Like, I'm not going to waste my time being a fucking Brooklyn Nets fan. The Brooklyn Nets fucking suck. So it's like, it makes perfect sense to be like, we're going to make that move. And I think that they should. If I was running a franchise, I think that's what I would do wholeheartedly. So last week I was talking about how I truly think that the Myles Garret trade does nothing but reinforce the idea that Joe Burrow will inevitably be traded to the Los Angeles Rams. And I realized, based on comments and stuff, I realized I didn't really explain that perspective very well. So I'm going to try and piece together. But like last year when I first started the show, I was talking a lot about Joe Burrow and how I think it would be in his best interest to be less cool. I think he's too cool to win a Super Bowl, at least in Cincinnati. Like, because so many people buy tickets for him to see him. He goes to Fashion Week. He's got fucking nice hair. He's single. He needs to stop being single. He needs to be in a committed long-term relationship. Those are the only guys who win Super Bowls. That's that, and I can back that up with stats. Sam Darnold was engaged. Fucking Jalen Hurts married. Patrick Mahomes married. Tom Brady married. You know what? Like, and after Tom Brady got divorced, that's when he lost. So it's all completely. It makes sense when you track that out. I'm not going to explain the whole theory why he has to be less cool and he needs to stop being single. But those are statistically based facts. I think it makes sense. I don't know what draft picks they have when. Just because I don't remember. I didn't look into it when I made the claim a year ago that Joe Burrow would get traded to the Rams. But the Rams seem to always be in win now mode. They always want to be in constant contention for a Super Bowl. Now, when I made the Joe Burrow claim, this was before Matt Stafford had an MVP caliber season and then got a 2-year extension. So that's why I've pushed the timeline out. And I made that before they used Sean McVay used his first round draft pick in 8 to 10 years, I think, on Ty Simpson. He almost always trades those things away, which we saw again in the Myles Garret trade. But what we also learned from the Myles Garret trade is that, for one, we already know Sean McVay, when he makes a pick, it's probably a good pick. Okay, he very rarely whiffs. He makes informed decisions. If he thought Ty Simpson at the 13th overall pick was a good choice, he's probably right, because he builds defense really well, and he's a whiz. He's the best play caller on offense in the NFL. Maybe Andy Reid, maybe Kyle Shanahan, but he's the best offensive mind in the NFL, outside of maybe those two. and it's a toss-up. It's a tight, contested race. So if he thinks Ty Simpson's going to be good, let's assume he's good. He was worth the first-round pick that they spent on him, okay? But I think it's safe to assume that there is a pretty reasonable chance that in 2 years, Joe Burrow would probably still be better than Ty Simpson. And because the Rams like to be constantly in contention, it's safe to assume that they would win more games with Joe Burrow at quarterback than with Ty Simpson. Just like Myles Garret is better than Jared Verse. Jared Verse is a very good player. He's a very cheap player because he's still on his rookie contract. He's very talented, but he's not Myles Garret. Ty Simpson may end up being very good, but he may never be Joe Burrow. And so even if Joe Burrow becomes, I don't know how old he's going to be in 2 years. He's going to be 31, I think, maybe 30. That's the same age Myles Garret is now. So if they're trading I think they traded their 2028 first round pick, if memory serves, and Jared Verse for Myles Garret, plus like a second and shit. Why would they not make a similar move in 2 years, moving a cheaper player at the same position that is talented to a franchise that would capitalize on those strengths? Because the Bengals have a very good offense. They suck at defense. The Browns have a very shitty offense, but they are rock solid on defense. So they traded their star defensive player, and they got a great defensive player back. So the Bengals could trade their star offensive player and get a great offensive player back. Now, I don't know how good Ty Simpson's going to be. I would have guessed not the 13th overall pick good, but Sean McVay and his entire staff is paid to know more about these guys than I do. So I'm going to assume that they knew what they were doing when they picked him. Their first round pick in the Sean McVay era of the LA Rams. And you think he just fucking whiffed on it? I don't think so. I think he knew what he was doing when he took him, and it was calculated. And he may be good, but he may not be good enough, similar to Jared Verse, in which in 2 years, when Stafford's contract is done and he's going to retire and he's just done, and they're like, we need to spice up this offense a little bit. You know who's tired of losing games that he scores 45 points in? Joe Burrow. So I don't know how the cap situation works. No, I've never met a single person who does understand it. It's insanely confusing. I don't pretend to get it. So in this scenario, I'm assuming that somehow the numbers work. Because the way it fucking inflates and I have no idea. But I think that this trade would mirror similarly what we could see in 2 years from the LA Rams. In that they're going to trade a very good, but not the best player in that position, and a first round pick or multiple or whatever for one of the best players in that position. Around the same age. Myles Garret gets paid a shit ton of money. I don't remember what his salary is, but it's probably pretty close to what fucking Joe Burrow gets paid if I were to guess. So I don't see how it's people online were like, well, I don't understand how they can make this. How are you even getting there? Because it's the same trade. A star player on the offensive side of the ball gets traded for an even better player on the offensive side of the ball in the same position. Jared Verse got traded for an even better player in the same position in Myles Garret. And the contract didn't matter. The age didn't matter. The Rams do not care about being cheaper. They don't care about how old someone is. They care about winning this year. They're not playing for the future. They're playing for the season. And that's why they're in contention every single season, even when they're banged up. When they can't field a fucking wide receiver room, they're still in contention for the playoffs. And they always, even when they get hurt and Matt Stafford goes down, they outperform their expectation. Why do you think that is? It's because they're good and they only worry about winning this year. They will mortgage the future to win now. And I don't think that philosophy is going to change in 2 years if they're still making decent playoff runs with Matt Stafford. If they win another Super Bowl, say this coming season, Matt Stafford wins his second Super Bowl. And then he's like, I've done kind of everything I need to do. I'm tired. Maybe he gets hit once and he's just like, yeah, that was the last one. You know what I mean? Like he's like, I can't keep doing that at my age. That one hurt a lot. For a tough guy to say that, that's not impossible for him to be like, that was the last shot. You know what I mean? So then that second year was the 2028 season, 2029 season. That's his last year. And he goes, yo, I'm done after this. I don't want to play anymore. I'm tired. I'm banged up. Maybe he gets hurt and he has a terrible injury. Maybe it's an Achilles or something because that's a longevity injury, an overuse injury that's not from just, that shit doesn't just happen at random. You know what I mean? That's usually like you've aged into that injury like Aaron Rodgers did, like Matt Stafford is potentially on the verge of doing. Knock on wood, hope that doesn't happen. But it's not that crazy that they would be like, okay, well, we still have a good team. We just need a better quarterback. Let's find a way to get a quarterback. Who do you I always hear Josh Allen or Joe Burrow. Who the fuck do you think is more likely to leave? Josh Allen, who's keeps winning his division and makes good playoff runs and has been in the AFC Championship multiple times, or Joe Burrow, who's made one playoff run, lost the Super Bowl, and fucking has to fight and claw just to hopefully get a wild card spot, and can't field the defense and never has an offensive line, and he's so injured. Who do you think wants to leave their team more? Fucking Joe Burrow does, dude. It's not even a question. And they're going to be like, oh, well, what about T. Higgins and Jamar Chase? It's like, they got Puka and you're telling me they can't find another wide receiver with how good these guys are? You're telling me Joe Burrow has to rely on 2 elite level wide receivers to make plays? He's incapable of doing it with guys who just aren't quite at that level? I don't buy that. Like, fucking get real, dude. It's totally plausible. I understand the question marks, and I think maybe last week's episode, I just didn't do a good job explaining my point of view. It is largely contingent on I thought he was going to get traded regardless. And then I think the Rams are just a good landing spot that he would request to go. Is like, oh, if there's one place that I could pick to go, it would be the Rams. He's a fucking good-looking dude who's into fashion. He wants to go to LA. He likes to fucking score a lot of points and win games. That's what Sean McVay does. He needs an offensive line. They have one. He needs a defense. Theirs is borderline underrated. It's a perfect fit. And then they went ahead and they made this Myles Garret trade. And I believe, if anything, it gives you the slight blueprint of why it could happen because, bam, right there, we saw the top tier guy get traded for the best guy. And it's as simple as that. Why would this happen? Because they did a similar trade just now. They did a win now move 2 weeks ago, and you're telling me in 2 years they won't find another way to do a win now move if they still think they have a competitive team? The only way they don't do it, a move like that, is if they're in a fucking full rebuild. And I think they believe in Ty Simpson. I don't know that they believe in him that much. I don't know that they believe in him in a fucking, well, when Matt Stafford's gone, we're just gonna flatly give him the reins without a question. I don't know if they like him that much. He's a decent player, but no one had him going that early. So let's fucking be realistic here, okay? It's not that crazy that he could get traded. He could 100% get traded. So much so that, like I said last week, if I guarantee you that he does, I'm guaranteeing that I'm calling my shot. Now, in 2 off seasons in a row, I've called my shot. Joe Burrow is going to be on the LA Rams. I've had to adjust my timeline a little bit because I didn't see the MVP season coming from Matt Stafford, but he will be on the LA Rams, guaranteed. It's Joe Burrow. It's not Josh Allen. It's not Lamar Jackson. None of those guys. It's going to be Joe Burrow, guaranteed. Promise. And if I'm wrong, I'm going to eat McDonald's for a week straight and nothing else. And that sucks. And I hope that doesn't happen. But I'm fucking calling my shot. And that's how I see it. God, I wish I was betting on one of these games right now. I could so just stop caring about this and find something to plug in, but I haven't paid enough attention to baseball in a couple weeks. So I don't know what the fuck's going on. You know what I do know that's going on is it's not so that I'm so tired of how weird Tom Brady has gotten. And again, I know it's another old news thing, but my last week's episode was recorded and then I heard about this and then I just started to think so deeply about it. And I'm so tired of how weird Tom Brady is. It was all his shit when he was a player when he's like, "Oh, I eat avocado ice cream." And I've never had sugar in my life. I think there's some I heard that he's never had a strawberry. And he's fucking 45 years old. He's never had a strawberry. How is that even possible? Well, you just fucking hate life? Get a grip. Eat a fucking whole pack. You might die. Your body's probably allergic to them at this point. You eat a strawberry, first off, you're going to be like, that's one of the best things I've ever had in my life. And then you're going to go into anaphylactic shock because you've gone 45 years without even trying to eat a fucking strawberry. That's super weird, okay? Or eats pistachio ice cream or avocado ice cream, whatever the fuck he's doing. And he kisses his dad on the mouth. He kisses his sons on the mouth. That's probably some kind of cultural thing. Which, hey, it's still weird in my book because I don't do that with my dad, and my dad didn't do that with his dad, and I don't plan on doing that with my kids. So, there, no, for one, I don't even know if I don't even know if I would do like kisses on the cheek with my sons or my dad. I think that's just strange, and if that's on me, then that's on me. That's totally fine. But I also just I don't even hug people, so you know. Now you want me to go all the way in and start kissing people on the cheek? That's weird, dude. I hug my mom in one of my friends who's a girl, and I don't even hug my sister. She could die in a hole. I mean, she could be dead in a hole right now. I don't know, but she's not. But she just left the house like 10 minutes ago. That's a joke that she's never gonna hear because she doesn't listen to this. She is totally fine. But I don't hug her because that's like, we just don't do that, okay? So I can't imagine kissing my son on the mouth. I think the only caveat is like when they're little kids, and I mean like toddlers. If you're kissing your son on the mouth, mom or dad, you're kissing your son or daughter on the mouth, and I'll give you a couple extra years. And I think if you're past the age of 6, you're too old to be having that. If you can remember your birthday party, you're too old to be kissing your mom or dad on the mouth. And that's if you're a son or daughter. Nope. It's weird. And then this is about Tom Brady. And then Tom Brady, like last year, maybe the year before, he's trying. He either successfully or was attempting to clone his dog. That's weird. He mixed the DNA up into like a petri dish and then microwaved it so that he could have his dog. That's like the same dog. That's a weird thing to do. I love my dog. I'm not going to do that. Because then it's like it's just strange. I don't even know how to put that into words. It's weird. And now his latest endeavor is he came out with like a coconut water alternative energy drink or nutrition drink or whatever. And that's good. What's not good is that he called it Good Nut. That's not a good name for that when you've already done all of these weird things. You can't be publicly criticized for kissing your son and dad on the mouth and then a few years later come out with a product called Good Nut and just think that that's like a totally normal behavior to do, because it isn't. Like, that's fucking crazy. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it's not weird. That's super weird, man. Don't do that. I don't care if Tom Brady came out as gay. Fucking sick, dude. That's awesome. The greatest football player of all time just became a gay icon. That's a baller move. But I think you have to do the Good Nut nutrition water after you come out as gay. I don't think you can, and it's Pride Month. I'm all inclusive. I don't think you can be a straight dude and come out with a drink called Good Nut and then not expect a couple of funny looks, man. Like, I think that's a totally justified stance to have. And I know I'm not alone on this, but I haven't spoken to anyone in my life about it. I've listened to different sports podcasts where I was like, that's how I found out about it. Someone was talking about it on a sports show, and I was like, that's one of the craziest things I've ever heard. And then I looked into it, and I was like, it is a crazy thing. I thought it was like fucking AI or something. It's not. Tom Brady's just doing weird shit. Dude, there are so many pro athletes that after they retire, I don't know if it's the money combined with the fame, combined with the relative youth, because Tom Brady's not that old in the grand scheme. He's middle-aged. He's been retired for like 2 or 3 years now. He's not even 50 years old yet. Like, it's like when someone becomes a celebrity as a kid, it breeds you into being a weird person because it distorts your perception of how people behave, the things that happen, like all this kind of shit. Dude, did you know that Tracy McGrady, NBA All-Star, Tracy McGrady, T-Mac, an inspiration to a lot of players, of a lot of basketball players. Tracy McGrady, big name, Orlando Magic, Houston Rockets, 13 points in 30 seconds or whatever. That was him in the early 2000s. I'm pretty sure. He retired from baseball and retired from basketball and tried to become a baseball player, which Michael Jordan did too. But Michael Jordan played in the outfield. T-Mac tried to become a pitcher, which is the hardest thing in baseball to do. That's a weird move. Like, it would be one thing if you're like, but he was like a pitcher in high school, I think, not in like college or anything. And then he had an entire NBA career and then was like, I think I'm going to get into pitching. Tim Tebow is one of the greatest athletes of all time, and I'm pretty sure he played in the outfield. Like, no one goes from playing one professional sport really, really well. T-Mac is really good. He's one of my favorite players to watch highlights of. He's a lot of fun. You don't go from that and just jump and be like, well, I'm just going to be a successful athlete in a sport with a little more longevity. But I'm also going to do it in the hardest possible position. It's so hard to be a pitcher, dude. Like, that's why when you get guys like fucking Paul Skeens who come out and they're like a phenom, you're like, yo, this guy's insanely good. And then this year it's kind of crickets around him because it's like, yeah, it's hard, but it's kind of done and over with. Like, he just kind of melds into the everything of how hard it is to be a pitcher. I don't know a lot of pitchers' names, dude. I know a lot of shortstops. You know what I mean? Like, just household name. Being a pitcher is so hard. I don't think I'm making my point very well. Being a pitcher is so hard, dude. And then you were like, that's the career move I'm going to make. That's a weird thing for Tracy McGrady to do. And now he's trying to start, or he did start successfully. I don't know the active status on this. I heard about it a few months ago. I believe it's a current thing going on right now that he's trying to, or did successfully, put together a one-on-one league for basketball, which that makes more sense than trying to become a professional baseball pitcher. We saw Michael Jordan do it. He played in the outfield, and he struggled at a much easier position. And I would venture to say, I don't know if this is hot water, I would venture to say Michael Jordan is a better athlete than Tracy McGrady. If that's a hot take, then it's a hot take, but I feel pretty confidently about that, okay? Athletes are always doing weird shit as they get older. When they're younger, they're doing, except for John Morant. He's just trying to be a gangster all the time. But as they get older, they always end up doing, weird shit, dude. Antonio Brown had several head injuries, and so it's not entirely his fault. But he also fled the country to avoid being arrested. Kind of a weird move, a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, he does stuff that he's on Twitter and he does and sends out shit that you're just like, fucking what? I just spent the past, 2 minutes trying to remember another weird athlete who did weird shit. Oh, no. James Harden, dude. I knew as soon as I started talking, it would come to me. James Harden, he's not even retired, but he has been around for long enough now. He's in his 30s. He just got arrested and I believe charged. Nothing's finalized, but he got charged with unlawful possession of a firearm in the state of Texas. Now, I lived in Texas for 5 years, and I was a gun owner while I was there. And because I come from Connecticut, it was very strict on their gun laws. So I was asking very specific questions when I was going about purchasing my firearms. Now, if you're a Texas resident above the age of 21, my understanding is you can buy pretty much anything you want. Not a lot of restrictions. You can buy what you want. It's been a few years. I haven't lived there in a while. Haven't bought a gun there in a while. If it's not accurate now, hey, I'm going based off the best of my memory. I never bought anything too crazy, okay? I bought a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol. I wasn't going fucking nuts down there, okay? Pretty reasonable purchases. Maybe there's some crazy laws now. Maybe there were some flaws in it then or something. I don't know. But what I know is that if you're above 21, you can buy whatever you want if you're a legal resident of the state of Texas. You do not need a permit to purchase a firearm, is my understanding. I never needed a permit when I bought any of the firearms I owned. I said, hey, I own this pistol. How do I transport this pistol? How can I keep this on me? How do the laws work here? And this is what a police officer told me, and I could be wrong. I have to give myself that caveat because I could be wrong. My understanding was, hey, you you can have it in your car, but say you go to a McDonald's drive-thru, okay? You have it in your car. You can have it on the seat next to you, right in the passenger seat. Uncovered, that's a problem. Throw a towel over it, we're good to go. It's like, just don't have it out. And I haven't read into it. What I heard was that whatever he got charged with, James Hart, was kind of a bullshit thing to get charged with that almost never sticks. And they usually do it when they're kind of trying to get you on something else, or if you're being a real fucking pain in the ass. So they just make your life harder. So it's whatever James Harden got charged with. My understanding is that's not a real thing. Like, it's not a very credible thing. It's not like he was pulling some fucking gangster shit with an illegal, unregistered firearm and he was going to go hold up a liquor store. He wasn't doing anything like that. He had probably a legally owned firearm, had it in his possession with an illegal capacity, and he may have been being kind of a dickhead. And then the cop was like, well, we got you with this one, and it's not going to go anywhere, is my understanding. Fucking, do you hear about any young NBA players doing shit like that? That never happens to them. It only, at least the ones I know about, it only happens to the guys who've been around for a little bit, who are getting a little up there in age. They've had a lot of money for a long time, lived in all these different cities, and now they're getting fucking weird. And Tom Brady, not only is he the GOAT in football, probably the greatest football player of all time, 100% the greatest quarterback of all time. He's the GOAT. Tom Brady's also the GOAT, as far as my knowledge goes. He's the GOAT of weird shit that professional athletes do. Tom Brady's the GOAT of doing weird stuff. He does a lot of weird stuff. Maybe you like that about him. Maybe you don't. I'm not saying I like it. I'm not saying I don't like it. I like weird stuff. I like not weird stuff. There are some weird things I don't like. There are some weird things I do like. Tom Brady's doing weird shit. He's doing weird stuff, dude. He wants to clone his dog and he has a nutrition drink called Good Nut. Tom Brady's doing weird stuff, dude. I don't know if it's the money, the fame, the plastic surgery that he got, his injections into his cheekbones. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because you date a supermodel and then she divorces you for like a yoga instructor or whatever happened exactly, so you could go and fail to win another Super Bowl. I don't know if it's that starts to take its toll on you, but it's weird to clone your dog and have a nutrition drink called Good Nut. And I will die on that hill. That's weird, dude. There's no hate in me saying that. That is categorically a weird order of events. Those are weird decisions to make, okay? Just very strange in my opinion. Okay, I'm gonna get into this and I'm gonna wrap it. Otherwise, we're gonna be running a little long on this week's episode. That's fine. But we're trying to leave a little more meat on the bone here. I was asked at work a few weeks ago. We had some downtime. We were shooting the shit. And a few weeks ago at work, my buddy asked me, he goes, hey, what are your fears? Like, do you have any fears? You know, like some people are afraid of the dark. Some people are afraid of the ocean and shit like that. Do you have like anything like that? A lot of people say death. And I said, you know, there's nothing that I would consider a fear that I have, because there's nothing, I don't think there's anything that lives with me enough on a regular basis for me to have a degree of worry about. Until today, I think I had a realization today. Now, I was already in a pretty pissed off mood about work, because I had some dumb shit get said to me, and I was like, didn't like that at all. And I'm Irish, so I held on to it a little bit, and I yelled at other people, or just in a general sense, I yelled. And a few hours later, I walk up. I'm walking to this stairwell. Okay, now this stairwell is the only way to access this particular part of work that I need to get to. And two people who I know but work in a different department as me, so I have no reason to talk to them, are standing in the way of that stairwell. One guy has his back to me, so he doesn't see me. That's the younger guy. The older guy, white hair, long, ponytail, old. Clearly someone who probably has a precarious way of going about things. He's talking to the guy. He can see me walk up because I walk up behind the guy he's talking to. I can see his eyes. I'm right over the guy he's talking to's shoulder. I know he can see me. You guys are blocking the stairwell. I go, hey, excuse me. No move. Maybe I didn't say it loud enough. They're engaged in conversation. Fine. I'll hit a second one. Hey, excuse me. A little bit louder. Still nothing. I go to tap the guy on the back of the shoulder to be like, hey, man, let me through, give him a little pat. The moment I do that, the old guy reaches up and taps him in the same place. So he doesn't feel me tap him. And I went, excuse me, and gave him the taps. The old guy tapped at the same time. The same spot. I was like, that's crazy that you just did that. Now I'm about to hit a fourth excuse me, just to walk by these two gentlemen. So I say excuse me a fourth time. Still nothing. The old guy, I know the old guy can see me. I know he can see me. I can see his eyes. I'm standing in his eye line. I know he can see me. He doesn't make a fucking move at all. So now I'm damn near ready to start yelling yet again. I was already fired up. It had nothing to do with these two, but now I'm on the verge of getting pissed because now you are ignoring me, sir. And all I'm trying to do is walk by you because you guys are blocking the only stairwell that I can go through to get to where I need to work. So then I just start to step through them. I've tried 4 times being polite. I've tried tapping on the shoulder. I've never had anyone tap on someone's shoulder at the same time as me to mask a shoulder tap. I blew my mind that he did that. And I'm standing there and I'm like, dude, I'm trying to get through. I need to get to work. I'm not waiting in line for a fucking autograph. Okay, let me go to work. And so I just start to step in between them because it's the only way I can get anywhere. And then as I'm stepping through, he goes, "Oh shit!" The old guy's like, "Oh shit, my bad. I'm just leaving." And I was like, "Dude, I do not give a shit if you were coming, going, or dying right where you are. Get out of the way." How did you look at me I stood there for 30 to 45 seconds in your eye line, trying to just get by, saying excuse me multiple times. I can see you see me, and you don't fucking move. Now I have recently discovered earlier today that I think one of my only fears is aging to a point where I lose all social awareness. Because what the fuck was that? How do you not remotely see maybe I need to talk to him? You're just bullshitting about when you're going to leave or whatever. Maybe I need to talk to the guy you're talking to. Maybe I need to talk to you. And you can just hit me with hey, give me 1 second. I'll be like, oh no, I'm just trying to get through. But to just fucking ignore someone saying excuse me and using their manners when I know you can see me. Dude, I walked by him and I started screaming. I was like, you're standing right in the fucking way, saying all that shit. I walked by the two of the guys that I work with, and walked up, started climbing up a ladder, and they stopped me. They were like, yo, what the fuck was that? Are you good? I was like, yeah, what's up? And they were like, what was that yelling? I was like, dude, that was me and I told them the story about the fucking old dickhead who wouldn't get out of the fucking way. And I was like, he's just blocking the path. Like, what the fuck? Move, dude. At least acknowledge me so I know what the fuck's going on, but you're not even doing that. Get out of my way. What the hell? I've recently discovered, that was a quick rant. I've recently discovered that I think one of my only fears right now at 28 years old, I do not want to age into a person who has no social awareness, or I don't know if that was just lack of social awareness, or if this guy was just like, I'm old, so I don't have to acknowledge people. I don't know what the fuck that was, but it sent me through the fucking roof, dude. If I become one of those people when I get older, I'll be so disappointed. And because it would just ignore like the things that I deem important and appropriate, and how to treat people just with respect. If I start ignoring someone like that, someone better correct me at the very least. Like, holy shit, man. Like, you gotta be better, dude. You gotta be fucking better than that. But we're gonna wrap the show there, and I'll just keep yelling about it if I don't stop. So we're gonna wrap the show there. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. It's been a weird couple weeks, well, a couple months since football ended. We were trying to get our footing, and now we're just like, oh, let's get back into some sports or whatever. I love talking about sports. I can't wait for football to come up. I was sitting there just staring off into space today like, God, it needs to be the fall already. First off, it's hot as shit. I'm so tired of it being way too hot and then way too cold. I want to just pick one temperature range and stick to it. And I would also just love if there could be football all the time. I would love it. And I'm not going to watch like the UFL or the Canadian football. I'm not watching. I want to watch the NFL, and I want to watch NCAA college football, okay? American football. Because those are the sports that I like. If you guys enjoyed the show, go check out Rudy Tuesday. That's a comedy podcast I do every Tuesday with comedians Breck Michael and Rudy Marinosi. This comes out Friday. This coming Tuesday. If you're listening to this on Friday the 19th, Juneteenth. If you're listening to this coming Tuesday, we have an episode coming out with Cedric Purcell. He's a local magician that we are friends with. He's very funny, very entertaining. My understanding from what we just recorded it yesterday, my understanding from what we've worked out is that we will be getting a little bit of magical footage to play for you guys. So if you guys go check out the YouTube, you're going to see the magical footage that he did for us, doing some card tricks, doing some mind fucks, all that kind of stuff. It's a ton of fun. Please go check that out. And yeah, we come out every Friday at 7 over here at Pat on the Back. But that's the show, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and we're going to catch you on the next one.